Swashbucklers, you're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 133. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show each and every week. Thanks for tuning in and telling your friends and leaving us reviews and playing with us online and all that kind of good stuff that helps me keep the old boat afloat. I appreciate it each and every time you tune in. My guest on the show today is Anthony Cummins, a.k.a. Captain Tonz, and this will be an interesting one. Captain Tonz, Anthony Cummins, claims that he is a real pirate. Now, that might be a weird thing. We've had lots of people claim they're real pirates, but in a figurative, a fantastical sense. He claims he's a real pirate, okay? So this is going to be a little bit of a controversial show in some ways. He's got some controversial points of view. We dig into what his definition of a pirate is and how that applies to his life and his career, and I think you're going to find it interesting. He's got some really interesting stories about his career and what he's done and things like that, and it's going to be an interesting talk. So go in with an open mind and check it out. And if there's things you don't like, that's fine. If there's things you do like, great. And it'll be an interesting episode. So that's coming up in a few moments. I want to tell you one other quick little thing here. Coming up in a couple weeks, I am going to Paris with my girlfriend for 10 days. Now, I'm not saying that to brag. I am saying that because there's going to be a slight change in the show schedule while I'm gone. Normally, if I were just gone for a week, I would put out a show and make it work and do the thing and get it all going. But I am a one-man show here. I have no assistants or employees or engineers or anybody helping me with the show. I do everything myself. And so I don't want to shortchange those episodes during those 2 weeks that I'll be gone, because I have amazing guests. They're going to be fantastic guests, and I don't want to shortchange those episodes by not being around to promote them and all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to have a show next week on the the 20th. So we'll have a show this week, 13th, next week on the 20th, and then the following 2 weeks after that, there will be no new episodes. And that is only so that I can service my guests properly and make sure that you get to hear their amazing stories. So that's going to be the plan. The show's not ending, nothing like that, but I am going on vacation for 2 weeks. And you might go, well, why don't you just take a few minutes out of your vacation, Phil, and promote the stupid shows? How about you do that? My girlfriend would destroy me. That's why. She does not like when I work on vacation. In fact, I told her the other night, I said, I'm going to do a show while we're in Paris. And she got very angry and asked me why I always have to work during our vacations. And I said, because I enjoy my work. And that's why. So anyway, we're going to have a great vacation. It's going to be fantastic. And I'll tell you all about it when we get back. So again, new show next week, 2 weeks after that. For 2 weeks, no new episodes. But there's always all the back episodes. You can use the time to catch up. How's that? Use that time to catch up on the old episodes. If you want to find the old episodes, by the way, go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the episode guide button, and that gives you links to every single episode there, so you can find some folks you haven't listened to yet. Meanwhile, I got shows coming up before I get to go on vacation. Tonight, if you're listening to this the day it comes out, March the 13th, I'll be at Double Decker Lanes in Rohnert Park, California. Next Tuesday, the 20th, I'll be at the Starline in Oakland, California. Wednesday, the 21st of March, I'll be at Diablo Valley Bowl in Concord, California. Yeah, 2 bowling alleys in the same month. How you like that? And March the 23rd, which is a Friday, I'll be at the First Street Cafe in Benicia, California. Lots of tour dates coming up, road stuff coming up. Just book some Canadian dates that'll be going up soon. Go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the tour dates button, and that will tell you where I'm going to be. And I'm going to be lots of places, yes. Speaking of that stuff that I do, if you would like to learn how to play guitar, I've been a guitar teacher for countless years now. I don't even remember how long it's been. I want to say it's been a quarter century, which makes me sound way older than I want to sound. But I've been teaching guitar for a long time, and I have recently written a course that allows me to teach people who are not coming directly to me into my studio to learn. And I want to get you started with the 30-day guitar challenge. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to do anything. You do have to do something. You have to participate in the challenge. Here's what it is. If you want to learn how to play guitar, you will learn how to play 3 songs in 30 days with just 10 minutes of practice a day. That's such a small amount of time, it's ridiculous not to do it. And that is from zero, like you've never touched a guitar before type of zero, right? So if you want to learn how to play 3 songs in 30 days, learn how to play the guitar from me. I'll be your instructor. Go to underthecrossbones.com/guitar and check out the 30-day guitar challenge and see if it's for you. It'll be fun. and we will talk about things guitar wise rather than pirate wise for a while. If you're enjoying the show, join us over on Facebook. We're having a bunch of fun over there. That's facebook.com/under the crossbones. On Twitter, we're at under crossbones. No the, because it was too long. And make sure that you're subscribed through whatever you're listening to podcasts on: Stitcher, Slacker, Google Play, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're getting your pods. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get all the new episodes each and every week that they come out. And of course, you can get all the show notes for this episode at underthecrossbones.com/133. Okay, shall we? Let's do this. We're going to get into it right now. This is Anthony Cummins, a.k.a. Captain Tonz. So, you are a real pirate. Explain to me what a real pirate is.
Well, you know, Phil, there's lots of different kinds of pirates, and there are real pirates and pretending pirates. And one of the reasons I've come to you tonight is to try and get across to your specific audience, who are basically want to be pirates, people who dress up as pirates and who spend the day as pirates. And these groups of people who are doing this are a part of an explosion. It's something that is growing so fast. It's literally an explosion of people.
Certainly.
Who are interested in one way or another, interested in piracy.
Uh-huh.
Well, let's start, if I may, with the boring part. The word pirate itself comes from the Greek root word piran.
Okay.
P-E-I-R-A-N, piran.
Uh-huh.
And this was coined by a sage 550 years before Jesus called Solon. And he brought together a group, an association of piran. And the word actually means those who boldly go.
Okay.
And over the years and through the wars with Rome, and the word got changed to pirata, or today's word, pirate.
Mm-hmm.
So I belong to this group of piran. I'm a master piran, and I've been a piran since I was about 17 years old.
Okay.
So then you've got the people, the so-called golden age of piracy, which starts with Treasure Island and finishes with Johnny Depp.
Right.
Yeah, well, you know, more or less.
Yeah.
And everyone concentrates on that period of time. Well, what they don't seem to realize is that piracy's been going on for 3,000 years, and it's happening today. I'm a pirate. I do what pirates are supposed to do, or I'm now retired. That's one of the reasons I'm on your show, is simply because I can now speak, whereas before I couldn't. Now, come to the interesting little bit of this, is the fact that I wrote a book. Now, I'm not here to sell a book, but I wrote a book, and I thought, well, all my life I've had to hide who I am and what I do.
Uh-huh.
You know, there's, you're a sea captain, yeah. What kind of ship? This, that, yeah. You hide, you cannot tell people. I'm a pirate. It's just, you can't do it. Then all of a sudden, with all this explosion of people wanting to be pirates, and I come out and I write a book, and I decide, if I tell people I'm a pirate, they don't believe me. They simply don't believe me. And so I wrote this book using fairy story characters like witches and wizards and stuff to get a message across. And the book is filled with all kinds of information that wannabe pirates should know.
Okay.
So let's plug the book, and that's the reason of the book.
Uh-huh.
What I would like to reach out to are the thousands, I mean, there are literally thousands and thousands of people who dress up as pirates, who spend the weekend as pirates, who go out on boats, who have this almost fixation of living some kind of life as a pirate. And I say to myself, I wonder why. And yeah, well, all my life I've had to hide who I am, and these guys go out there and there they are, in front of everybody. And it's kind of a psychological, not problem, but it was like I couldn't understand it.
Uh-huh.
I've now come around to understanding it, and I say to myself, well, there must be some reason for this. There must be some deep, really deep, almost spiritual reason for people to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that it is possibly the sea itself that is calling these people. And that's what I wanted to say to them. These people, those of you who have this calling, you have to connect to one thing only, the sea.
Okay. I have a couple questions I want to back up. So
go on. Yeah.
So the word pirate to you, outside of that initial definition of one who goes boldly, versus the other extreme of the pop culture view of pirates, then what is your definition of pirate, and how does it differ from, say, just a standard Marine captain?
Pirates discovered the world.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of the history books, which tell you that Captain Cook put the British flag in Australia and New Zealand, etc., they were simply following pirates who were so far ahead of them that at that time, pirates have no interest in claiming lands or anything like that. They have no interest in politics or religion or absolutely anything. They're totally free, and they go, and boldly go, they go. So they discovered the entire world and more. And unfortunately, because of politics, because of certain world events, they became marginalized. Mm-hmm. They originally became marginalized in 1307 when I don't want to confuse your listeners, Phil. I have so much to say, so much history that I can give out people.
We're a pretty history literate bunch, so yeah.
Well, the great age of piracy was the age of the Templars. You heard of them?
Sure.
Well, the Templars had this big fleet, and the biggest fleet in the world, and they were trading here, there, and everywhere. Until the year 1307, when they were outlawed by the Pope.
Right.
But the actual Templar fleet wasn't a Templar fleet. These guys were like soldiers. They weren't sailors. So they hired the ships from the Piran, from the pirates.
Okay.
From the privateers. From people who hired the ships. So for hundreds of years, there were these crusades in the Holy Land. And ships were going backwards and forwards with all kinds of stuff, ammunition and horses and everything. And this was big business for the pirates. Well, in the year 1307, the Templars were outlawed, and naturally, all the business the pirates had with the Templars crashed.
Okay.
And that was the actual demise of the Piran pirates. Mm. And they just kind of went off and did their own thing. The pirates, like Blackbeard, as an example, they don't represent the true category of pirates. They're just a few bad guys. Like you've got bad doctors, you've got some bad policemen, you've got some bad politicians. Well, you've got a lot of bad politicians. But anyway, you've got bad in every profession. Only in the profession of piracy, the bad guys have been taken as a norm.
Okay.
We are all bad guys like Blackbeard, who, by the way, went to sea for 6 weeks. I mean, the guy didn't even know how to sail a ship. So, when you look into the situation, those years of piracy that are now being represented by the people who dress up like that, made famous by, Pirates of the Caribbean, Johnny Depp, and in fact Treasure Island, don't really represent the true pirate.
Okay. So in your viewpoint, the true definition of a pirate then is more of an explorer. Would that be correct?
I would say explorer, yes.
Okay.
And when not exploring, privateer.
Okay.
You know, the guy's got to live. Let me give you an example. When the East India Company, which was the largest British company that ruled all the seas from South Africa, India, all the way to China, Hong Kong, and Japan. Well, if they came across a small ship that was sailing, say, from Indonesia or Malaysia up to Japan, and it had been doing this for years and years, father and son, they come over and say, what are you guys doing? We make mats in Indonesia, we sell them in Japan. Then they would be offered a deal. Like, you can become part of the British East India Company and we will protect you for 30% of your cargo.
Okay.
So some of these captains, they said, no, we've been doing this for generations. We're not going to give you 30% of our cargo. So the East India Company said, therefore, you will be declared as pirates. And they were.
Okay.
And they were shot out of the water. So you see, they piracy is really, very complicated. You know, and you come to the present day with Somali pirates. So, you know, I really don't know where your audience would like to go with this conversation, but it's really, really fast.
Sure, yeah.
You know,
we can go anywhere we need to. That's okay.
Okay.
He'll follow.
Cool.
So talk more about the Somali pirates, because that's a topic that's going to be coming up more on the show in the next few weeks, because I've got some contacts I'll be speaking with about it. But I think it's one of the things I've always tried to do with this show is to not just do the pop culture thing, but to explore the place of pirates within history, within the span of history. And I think the pop culture pirates are a different animal than the historical pirates, certainly. And I like to investigate all of that to see where the connections are and where the differences are. So tell me a little bit more about what you know and what you think of the current Somali pirate problem.
Well, I'm a principal. I have principal knowledge of this problem. I've been to Somalia, I've worked Somalia, and I've worked with the Somali pirates. Somali pirates today, they're really, in actual fact, they're just a couple of dozen guys who are actually pirates. The ones with them, the crew, they're just like, you know, grab an AK-47 and get on board.
Right.
But they're not actually pirates. So these were originally fishermen. And what happened was the Italian mafia. It's a long story. I'm going to make it really short. But your listeners can always come back with questions, and I can enlarge on it.
Sure.
But anyway, the Italian mafia sunk a ship, and this ship was a cruise liner in the Somali Sea. Using the flotsam that comes up for years and years when a ship sinks, oil and all kinds of shit comes up to the surface. Using this as an excuse, they started to dump lots and lots of extremely heavy toxic waste in the sea. One or two tsunamis and some storms, and this stuff moved on the bottom, and eventually it rusted and broke open and killed everything in the sea. Everything is dead. And eventually, some of these containers started to turn up on the beaches in Somalia, and the fishermen's kids were playing there. And after a while, the fishermen's kids' fingers started to fall off, and they got no fingers. So now you've got these fishermen saying to themselves, "This is because they are dumping shit in the sea. So let's go out there and capture one of these people." Well, they used heavy words. I'm not going to put it on your podcast what they said, but anyway, they went out there and just by chance, the first ship they captured was a Saudi tanker called the Sirius Star.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I got in touch with my Saudi counterparts. I have connections in Saudi. I worked there for 3 or 4 years. And I offered to mediate between the Saudi owners and the Somali pirates.
Okay.
But they laughed at me and they said, no, we don't need that because we've already paid immediately because it's only $3 million.
Okay.
They paid the $3 million, which for them was small change.
Sure.
But the thing is, in Somalia, each area of Somalia is ruled by a warlord.
Right.
And the warlords, they said, hey, did you see that shit? These guys, these fishermen, they got $3 million. Just forget. So they took over the situation and literally forced the fishermen to go back to sea, capture another ship, and become pirates. And a lot of these guys said, no, we've already got our $3 million.
Right.
So we're going to build a hospital. We're going to cure our kids. But no, the warlords took over, and if they didn't go back to sea, they would kill their families and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the Somali piracy situation is today simply a business.
Right. And that squares pretty well with what I've read.
It's a $3 billion business. There's satellites and airplanes and guards on ships and all kinds of stuff going on for securing all the shipping that goes past there, when actual fact, we're talking about 28 guys. So I got in touch with UNAFOR, which is the European Naval Force, who are in charge of that area of the sea to stop the Somali pirates. So I got in touch with them, who offered me a contract for 3 years to consult on the problem. I said, look, I'm not here for a job. I'll fix the problem for you in 3 months, and this is the price.
Okay.
So I've cut the 3 years down to 3 months, and they politely told me where to go because they don't want the problem solved in 3 months. You understand me, Phil? They want the problem to be ongoing for almost forever because it's a big business.
I see. Okay. So let's go back into your history a little bit. Tell me about your early life and how you came to being on the water.
Well, I ran away to sea when I was 14. I'm from a town in North London called Watford.
Okay.
And I ran away from an unhappy childhood, let's say, and at 14 to sea.
Okay.
The first place I arrived at on this big ship going around the world was South Africa. And there, I'd never, quite honestly, I'd never seen a black person before. And that was the first time I'd seen black people, I was really naive. And I was taken ashore in Cape Town, and I got lost. I ended up in a black people area, and they had what you call, in those days, apartheid, where white people and black people weren't allowed to mix or even converse,
Sure.
And so I'm asking these black people, excuse me, can you tell me the way to the port? And they were kind of running away. I couldn't understand this. Next minute, I was arrested and put into prison. I was 15. And for apartheid, arrested for speaking to black people.
Right.
Sure, that's what it was. And I received 6 strokes of the cat of 9 tails, and it cost me everything. I didn't have anything left. So at the end of that trip, I couldn't get a job. I was like already on the wrong side. You know what I mean, Phil?
Yeah, just because of the jail time?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so I couldn't get a job. And eventually I was offered a job on a small ship in Sweden, so a Swedish ship. So I got on this ship, and lo and behold, I didn't even know myself, I had some particular art and craft. I could steer the ship like no other. And it was so good. I didn't know this, but it was so good apparently that a captain of another ship, Swedish ship, asked for me to be transferred to his ship.
Okay.
Which I was, and I was given a higher salary and stuff. And it took me some 6 or 7 months to understand that the ship I was actually on was a pirate ship.
In what sense?
Well, it was a tramp. It would go wherever there was work. But at the same time, the captain was a Piran, Master Piran, and a pirate. And every now and then, the ship would have to do certain things, you know, certain pirate things. And so slowly, I stayed with this captain for 5.5 years.
Okay, so in that sense that it's almost sort of a mercenary ship with a loose sense of legality. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, quite a heavy sense of legality. Only it's, you might work for 6 months totally legal.
Okay.
Go pick up cargo, deliver it, take another cargo backwards and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, somebody will call through and we would have to leave that work and do something else.
Okay.
And of course, 5.5 years and 10, 12 hours a day on the bridge with a Master Piran pirate captain, he teaches you everything you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And you're chosen. You can't apply to be a pirate. You're chosen to be a pirate.
Okay.
And I was just lucky to be chosen. I just had the skills of steering a ship. I can steer a ship and place it in any position you wish.
How do you think you came about that skill coming from a rather landlocked area?
I have no idea. No. I think love, because the first time I ever walked onto the bridge of a ship, to see all the instruments, the young kid, you see all the instruments, the compass, the wheel, and all the stuff. And it's like, I suppose, like a young kid today walking onto a Star Trek, Enterprise, It was that's how it was for me. And I just threw myself in, and I just don't know, but I had this ability to connect to the ship through the wheel and then connect to the sea.
Okay.
Because you have to connect eventually to the sea.
Sure. Was there a certain amount of learning curve to just the technical aspects of it?
I was only interested, Phil, in the technical aspects, and I suppose the technical aspects, I learned that within a year.
Okay.
And so 5.5 years of learning. The other 4.5 years was stuff that I didn't need at that time.
Okay.
It was stuff, information about who I am, why we're here, who are we, what we're doing, and all Piran pirate stuff. And I've tried in the book I plugged earlier, I've tried to get some of that message out to the people.
Okay.
And now, with an audience, your audience, of pirate-minded people, I really wish they could try and contact the sea. It's really easy to be in contact, physical contact with the sea.
Mm-hmm.
The sea is a living thing. It's a living being that is 2/3 of this planet is covered in sea.
Yes.
Yeah, what gets me, Phil, is you open the news and scientists have discovered that the ice is melting, or science, climate change, or this. Well, you don't need. I don't know who these scientists are, where they are, who pays them to say what they say. But all they need to do is put their hands and arms in the sea, connect to the sea. Let me tell you. Can I tell you? I wrote an article on my website. It's called Lament.
Okay.
No, sorry, it's called Empathy. Where I take the smallest seagoing person you can get. Let's call it a Filipino fisherman in his dugout canoe out on the sea.
Okay.
You can't get anything lower than that.
Right.
He's the lowest of the low, right? He goes out there, paddles out every day, And he gets there and he starts fishing. And even before he starts fishing, he's already speaking to the sea.
Uh-huh.
He's already in a complete conversation with the sea. Once he's stopped in his fishing, he will continue the conversation. He will tell the sea about his new baby, and maybe they need some medicine, and his wife is ill, or all his problems he will tell to the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And things happen. Things happen. The sea responds, and the sea will change its surface. It will make strange waves. It will push him to where the fish are. It will do everything possible to help this guy.
Uh-huh.
At the same time, the sea does this because the sea is speaking to him as well. Empathy is a two-way thing.
Sure.
And the sea will say, I got problems. And the sea will explain to the fisherman her problems. And so you have this conversation all day, the conversation, until the fisherman, with his fish, goes back home. And when he gets home, he is valued by how many fish he's caught.
Mm-hmm.
His social standing is how many fish he's caught. It's not his capabilities of speaking and empathizing and conversing with the sea and the animals in the sea and everything around him. This scientists in their offices or wherever cannot do. And nor can NASA. Nobody can do this except people like this lone fisherman or myself or many others like us can do this. And this is what I want your pirate wannabe audience to do. I want them to connect to the sea, because the reason that they are doing this, the reason they put on the costumes, the reason they spend their money and time being pirates has to be taken just a little bit further, and they must try and connect in empathy with the sea.
Okay. All right. So we kind of left off where you were on the Swedish ship. Take us from there.
Well, on the Swedish ship we did lots of stuff, mostly contraband, mostly we took all the stuff from Poland, because in those days it was still the Soviet Union was still alive, and so Poland was pretty cool. You'd go there with a handful of dollars and you take away, literally hundreds of kilos of amber.
Huh.
Amber.
Uh-huh.
Big blocks of amber. Well, we kind of, in 3 years, we kind of cleaned out all the amber from Poland.
Okay.
Other than that, it was people escaping from East Germany or Poland again, and little things like that. It's kind of learning curve that I was on, with little small kind of pirate jobs like that.
Okay. Interesting. How did you come then to become captain of your own ship?
I was made a Piran captain in Sweden, and I was 22, and I came back to England, and I tried to settle down, like all my friends were getting married and stuff, and you got to get married, you got to do this, and I tried to get a job, and no, it was just a different world I couldn't live in. So I decided to put all my money in a venture and buy a boat in the north of England, and I started my own piracy.
Okay.
And that was out of Hull in the north of England.
Now, when you started that company, did you start it with the intention of a legitimate shipping company or something like that? Or was it, we're going to go out and find whatever work comes to us?
I started out by buying this boat, and realized I didn't have enough money to take it any further. So I put it up for sale, and I got a lot of money for it. So I bought another 2 boats, and I sold them, and I got a lot more money. And then I became kind of famous in the area for barges, barges that usually go on rivers.
Okay.
And I was taking barges everywhere in Nigeria and on the continent, until one day this Arab gentleman phoned me, and he said, "I'm going to buy this barge, only you have to deliver it to Saudi Arabia."
Okay.
Well, north of England to Saudi Arabia, that's a pretty long way to take a barge.
Sure.
And so we decided to take it on. We took on this really impossible, never done before job. And unfortunately, everything went wrong. And we arrived eventually through the Atlantic with a barge in a storm. We arrived in Gibraltar, where we were arrested, or the ship was arrested.
Why was the ship arrested?
It was arrested because they said it was a barge and it's not allowed to go in the Atlantic, and the British trade, and all kinds of shit was hitting the fan to stop us, you see. So the only thing to do was to escape from Gibraltar. The ship was chained up and stuff. So we stole 11 tons of fuel oil from Her Majesty's Royal Navy dockyard in the night, soared through the chains, and escaped from Gibraltar. We had a pilot boat, a frigate in the strait, and a motor torpedo boat chase us. And we're in a barge, and they lost us. And we managed to get to Morocco and hid away there for a few days, and eventually carry on.
Okay.
We also hit a hurricane after Malta. But eventually, on Boxing Day, we arrived in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where we find that there was big money going down. Arabs were actually betting whether we would arrive or not. And we arrived desperado, we had nothing, no cigarettes left, nothing, But we arrived, and the Arab sheikh he must have been a winner because he was really happy. And he said, "I'll offer you a job." So I said, "Yeah, that's cool." And I became his personal pirate for the Red Sea.
Okay.
So I suddenly went from being a small pirate, I suddenly jumped up a few grades to being quite a well-known pirate in the Red Sea.
Interesting.
Where I managed to capture 2 ships at the same time, which was the first time a pirate had captured 2 ships together for over 100 years, apparently.
Yeah, I saw that story on your website, and it's not what we think about when we think about a ship capture. It's not ship-to-ship gun battles or cannons or any of that kind of stuff.
No, you have to avoid all that. Yeah, that has to be avoided. It's like when you see a film, and the ship officer, he looks through his telescope and he sees a ship with a pirate flag. Well, he's not going to put a pirate flag up. He's going to put anything else, because as soon as you see a pirate flag, you're going to run away, and it's going to take him 2 days to catch you. So, let's try and get everything more in perspective. Pirates were really clever guys, They're not going to do something unless you've got a chance of winning.
Certainly, yeah.
Other than that, I became quite famous in the Red Sea for camels,
Okay.
Did you read about camels?
A bit, yeah.
I used to contraband smuggle camels from Somalia to Jeddah.
Okay.
In Saudi Arabia.
What was the reason that those camels had to be contraband? What was the legality around that?
Well, the legality is non-existent.
Okay.
Because in those days, even today, to a certain extent, Ethiopia and Somalia are always at war. They've been at war for hundreds of years. Consequently, the border moves. It goes, it can go one way and the other way. And when it goes towards Ethiopia, like the Somalis winning, they capture all the livestock.
Okay.
Camels, buffaloes, sheep, all kinds of stuff. Well, they got nothing to do with it, so they capture it and then they put it out for sale. So we come along and buy it.
Okay.
And then put it on the ship and take that to Jeddah.
Okay.
And a camel, in those days, a camel is $2,000.
Huh.
Yeah, people don't realize the value of stuff,
Sure.
And so I had 472, it's the record, 472 camels I landed in one go.
Oh my gosh.
In Jeddah. Yeah. So, we're talking nearly $1 million in those days. That's big money.
Right.
Of course, you got to pay. You got to pay all the fuel. You got to pay all the crew and stuff. But it's still good business.
Yeah, certainly. So, further adventures after that. What then prompts you to retire?
Well, I've only recently retired. In fact, just last year I did a small job. But I'm retired actively. I do logistics now,
Okay.
Consultant. Somebody says, "Oh, listen, I pay you expenses, give you a couple of $1,000. Could you go there and have a look and see this place and come back?" I say, "Yeah, okay." So I go, I look at the place and I come back and give them the information. Logistics.
Okay.
What they're looking for is there or it's not there. It can be done or it can't be done.
Uh-huh.
That's all I do now.
Okay. Interesting. This is pretty fascinating stuff, and I hate to close it up, but my laptop is going to have problems and shut down any minute now, and I don't want to have that accidentally happen. So, where is the best place online for people to keep track of what you're up to and your stories and such?
Well, they can go to a website, which is Captain Tonz with a Z.com.
Okay. Tonz. Yeah.
And then they can take after the Red Sea. I go to the Philippines and the South China Sea, so they can catch that there too.
Okay, interesting. Very cool, man. Well, I'll get that all in the show notes, and people can read up more on what you're doing. And so this was fun. Thanks for taking the time to do it.
Thank you, Phil.
And there it is, friends. That is my interview with Anthony Cummins, a.k.a. Captain Tonz. You can find him at CaptainTonz.com. Tonz is Tonz. That would be a nickname for Tony, which is a nickname for Anthony. There's the connection. That's my middle name, too. So there you go. We have a connection there as well. And that was an interesting interview. The guy has stories, does he not? He's got some stories. And there are lots more stories on his website that you can go check out there. And if you agreed, cool. If you didn't, cool, too. I try to give everybody some airtime here to tell their story and to let us know what they think about things. And that's the way it works. So there you go. The Somali piracy part I found particularly interesting, and we are going to dig into that more next week. I have a guest coming on I'm very excited about. His name is Jordan Wiley, and he has a book out called Citadel about his first-person account of being a maritime security officer on ships, in the ocean, fighting the Somali pirates, face-to-face, gun for gun. And it's really, really interesting. So that is coming up next week. Be sure to tune in for Jordan Wiley. It's not Golden Age-y stuff, but it's modern piracy stuff. And it's I think it's important that we talk about those kinds of things too. We are sponsored today by Pirate Radio The Treasure Coast, WKKC-DB, playing the best music of today's hits and yesterday's classics. And Pirate Radio Talk, playing the best pirate shows, including Under the Crossbones, you guessed it, 24/7 and all commercial free. To listen, just go to pirateradiothetreasurecoast.com. That is their music station, or pirateradiotc.com. That's the talk station. And don't forget to download the apps. The music station is Pirate Radio WKKC-DB, and Pirate Radio Talk is the talk station app. But if you just go to your app store and put in Pirate Radio, I'm willing to bet both of those come up. So there you go. And of course, they're owned by iTreasure Radio, the very best digital media from independently owned stations, which you can find at iTreasureRadio.com. I've got a free ebook for you. It's Alexander Exquemelin's Pirates of Panama or Buccaneers of America, published first in 1678. Yeah, so this is, boom, right there in the depths of the piratey time we like to talk about. And it's a first-hand account of a doctor who ended up on pirate ships, wrote about his adventures, and put it out. Very popular book at the time. And I've got a cool little ebook version of it for you. All you have to do is go to underthecrossbones.com, click the free ebook button, and you can check it out there. Or if you're out and about and all you have is your phone with you and you want it served right up to you easier, go to your little texty app and text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. Text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. Costs you nothing. It's all free, I promise. And that is our show for today, friends. Thank you once again for tuning in and checking it out and being an open-minded person about the pirate stuff. I sounded like Bill Cosby there for a second. Sorry, that was not... I don't want to sound like Bill Cosby. At one time, but not anymore. My guest, of course, was Anthony Cummins. If you want to find out more about what he's up to, maybe check out that book he was talking about, go to CaptainTonz.com. Captain, like Captain, Tonz, Tonz.com. CaptainTonz.com. We have got some great shows coming up. Next week, we're going to hear from Jordan Wiley, the Somali piracy expert, like I was talking about. And then we're going to have 2 weeks off while I go vacation in Paris. And then when I'm back, we're going to hear from Samuel Marquis, who is the author of Blackbeard, The Birth of America. And we've got Richard Rasner from Clan Darksail. And lots of good stuff coming up. We got some cool surprises in the works. And that's that. So I will see you next week. Bye.